What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man, and it isn't every night that I come to you with a new world record holder, but that's what I'm coming to you with tonight. Jacob Finerty, talk about what do you have a new world record in?
Well, I just broke the natural stone press world record. It's the first time in the U.S. It's been an Icelandic record since pretty much its instillment by Magnus for Magnuson back in the day. So it was, one of those one I've always wanted to break just because I trained with Ode Haugen, and obviously, his name and Magnus go synonymous at times. But those were the old time strongman events that I really miss seeing. So it's one of those that I love pressing now. So it's one of those I wanted to start my whole pressing montage, if you will, of records with one of the hardest, in my opinion, which is that one.
Yeah, it's interesting because Magnus just did the Magnus for Magnuson Classic, and he had a stone press event there. And I think Athor Melstead had the record before you did at 317, I believe. And he elected during that contest to tie his record instead of trying to beat it. So it's interesting that now, shortly thereafter, it has been broken.
Yeah, no, went back and definitely saw that because he broke Magnus's record from, man, seems like 16 or 17 years that it stood for a while. So I was really jealous of that show. That show looked brilliant in all regards. So that's the type of strongman events I hope to see more of, instead of, nothing against the stadium series or anything, but that outdoor stuff is definitely what I love.
Yeah, I mean, it's all good in its own way, right? Like the Giants live stuff is an incredible production. I love it for what it is. But then this was very different in terms of the layman can relate. Like I think I was telling you off camera, I like running into the woods and finding heavy stones to press and heavy logs to press. And when you see what he did there, it's, aside from maybe like the deadlift and stuff like that, it's like stuff all around you, like, hey, I could do that.
Yeah, I would argue that that's kind of how all of us started. The love of this sport was definitely more of, I would say, stones, logs, and then like the yoke, or farmers. Just the old generic stuff is what we all love. Deadlifting is across the board. I think deadlifting is so popular because powerlifters love it, CrossFit loves it, everybody loves it. So that one's kind of brings everybody together. But for me, it's always been stones. My training partners, Martins, like I said, my mentors, Ode. So it's like the old school type of environment is what we love doing. It's like, okay, we're going to just pick this rock up to our lap, and then we're going to go to the next heavier one, and that's kind of how we started. And it's just everything. It's kind of like a puzzle, just trying to find the handles, honestly. It's the pressing power was cool, but it's the puzzle of finding how to even get it to your lap, and back with the Arnold, when Matus did that iconic, stone to shoulder, that was Ode's original tombstone, as we called it. So those are the ones that we learned on, and those are the fun ones that we obviously learned to love, was those just brutally heavy, just objects. It's like, okay, no tacky, pick it up to your lap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting. So when you first started lifting stones, did you bother with what do they weigh, or just let me grab and see what I can do?
Oh no, I mean, we had, like I said, I started with Oda at his house, and most of his stuff was old school, you know, Fortissimus or the metric strongest thing. Everything was heavy. Like the first yoke I ever carried was 660. We didn't have anything lighter. The farmers were 275. So basically everything was heavy. So in order to train there, you kind of had to almost be invited, and there was really no basic stuff there. So everything was very much heavy. So he did say, though, by the time you lifted a certain stone, he would kind of gauge like, that's really impressive. And he wouldn't say that lightly. It would be like, that's a 300 plus pound, all the way up to a 400 plus pound. Because I think the tombstone that they used was 400 something odd pound. I mean, it was a really heavy rock. So for this one, for the sake of the press, like I've always said, if I can get it to my shoulders, I can press, just about anything. So the fun part is actually just really getting it to the shoulders and in enough wind to press it, really.
Right, right. And so when like in your judgment and in Ode's judgment, is a heavy stone dependent on your body weight, or is it not relative? Just heavy is heavy, and either you could do it or you can't.
Uh, O's definitely a big proponent of not being too big in the sport. He definitely likes more of the guys that are quick, fast. I mean, obviously, like Martins is Martins, that type. So we've never really had these just big monster guys, but really strength is strength. It's the whole rule. There's no weight class in the jungle. That type of mentality. It really does travel. It's really, if you can lift it and do what you can do, it's impressive. But he definitely pushes more of stay healthy. Obviously he's how old now and he's still doing it. So longevity and health is big in everything that we do, for sure.
Yeah.
which is cool.
Absolutely, absolutely. I got a buddy in the audience, Costin Sutton. He's actually state rep, strongman corp for South Carolina, and he said this strong fella is now coaching my friend Tim that I'm always telling you about, and I think he means Tim Buck.
Yeah, yeah, he does. Yeah, he just Tim
How's
Buck.
that going? Tim's doing some great things this year.
Well, I don't know if that's so much me or if it was Nadia's performance that sold Tim on my programming, but basically he found me after OSG. And the funny part of it is my goal is OSG this year, so it's going to be cool to actually train someone to basically go against me in the end of the year, you know. So I have a couple of heavyweights here that are going to go. So OSG this year is going to be a lot of fun because I actually didn't know it was as big of a deal as it is until kind of being there and seeing that, you know, especially the lighter weight classes. I mean, they take it very seriously. So it was a lot of fun to see that. You know, I train Nadia the same as I train her for every show. So of course it was high level, but no, I definitely didn't see that to be as big a magnitude as it was, which was really actually cool to see because that's something strongman's missing, especially in the lighter weight classes and everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what she did was incredible and very impressive. And I've been impressed with Nadia for a long time. She's also a sweetheart. She came on my show and we had a great time
Yeah,
together. But it was a pretty big weight class. She had what, 15 in her class at OSG
yeah, I believe so. I
and
mean,
won
that's
it.
definitely the biggest show that we had gone to. I mean, she did just the records early on in the year. Then she did WUS, and then Americas. We were hoping for a bigger show at Americas, but everybody basically said we're not doing that one because it's too close to OSG. So we run into that a lot with those weight classes, which is
Okay.
the biggest thing. If I could say anything to young, strong men and women, is like just go to the shows and treat it like a big training day, but obviously give your central nervous system and everything time to relax afterwards. And if it's that close together, but a lot of these shows are so similar in events that if you train one, you're almost ready for the next one. So I do hope people kind of get that because there's no reason why OSG should have 100 and something competitors and then you have an elite show that's going to pay you $5,000, a month and a half before that, and nobody shows up to it. So that's the biggest thing I see in strongman is a lot of people are afraid to take that chance and not win. It's like they only want to go to a show and they win. So just from promoting shows here for my own gym, a lot of times I'll put someone on the roster that people know is good, and then you'll see people drop out of that weight class. So
Really?
it's almost like you got to play mind tricks with people just to get people to show up to your show.
Yeah, you have a show coming up, don't you? I think I saw it on
Yeah,
your Instagram.
yeah. December 18th, we're doing a show. I do like to do a little bit heavier of a show, to get people more so primed for the Arnolds and OSG and Clash of the Coast and stuff. So I kind of want to, levels is out of Strongman Corp in general, but I want to kind of make my mark being that if you can win a show at big, you can kind of be ready to go at OSG and compete. Like Nadia is really just one of my athletes, but I do have a handful of very elite, especially the girls. The girls respond very well to my training. So as well as Nadia presses, I have three. Another one that broke a world record this year in the lightweight category, and then
Wow.
I have another middleweight that's definitely going to make noise this year. So hopefully, that's what I'm trying to do. That's why I took this route. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, middleweight's a good class. OSG had that extra 73 kg class, which was a lot of fun. Erin Murray did some great stuff there.
Yeah, I see. I mean, the middleweights, in my opinion, is always the most competitive. Nothing against the other two. It's just I always see that the middleweights, for some reason, just very dynamic, both strength and you see the quickness, where a lot of the other ones you don't. I mean, the heavyweight girls are oftentimes just ridiculously strong, So and then vice versa, the lightweights are incredibly fast. So it's fun seeing them divide that up a little more. I even saw that doesn't Arnold have, or no, one of them have a 91 kilo class now. I
Okay.
think Clash of the Coast is doing a 91 kg class, which is, almost like a light heavyweight, if you will. It's almost like going into fighting weight categories, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But again, it's hard to fill classes, so the more they do that, the harder it's going to be to have these big classes. But that is something needed because there is very, very talented girls that nobody even sees because you kind of see the same ones, just like in the pro strongman circuit. You kind of see the same guys when there's a lot of talent that is just sitting on their doorstep.
Yeah, if they do something close to heavyweight for women, that could be like Corey Butler. She's heavyweight, but not gigantic heavyweight, so that
Sure.
might be a good fit for somebody
I
like her.
think if I remember right, she was a middleweight. If I remember right, before
She was.
yeah. So, but a lot of those ones, especially with Nadia, I push. It's not about body weight, especially in the women's. The big difference between the open class and the middleweight is a lot of times just brute strength. but I worked so much with the technical side of like getting her overhead, to where it is. And the same thing I do with my other, middleweights and everything. So the big thing I think lacking in the lighter categories is like the overhead strength. You see the numbers, even at OSG, you see a lot of zeros, and that's a very elite class, all the way up to the heavyweight guys.
Yeah.
And if people took more time on that as much as they did on deadlifts, and you would see a whole different dynamic of strongman, in my opinion. But just like I wish they would put more squatting events in strongman, instead of just the deadlift. Like Worlds is kind of the only one you see a squatting event, and that would be kind of cool to see. But a lot of things, I just like the strength aspect of strongman in general, just the old school stuff, more so than medleys and stuff are great. But a lot of these lighter classes seem to do like all medleys, so you have a show with like 3 medleys and then maybe like a max event where you just don't see that at Worlds. You see a lot more of the static stuff, in my opinion.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, when you do your coaching for overhead pressing, given you're an incredibly elite overhead presser yourself, do you coach from, learning how to be a good coach, or from personal experience, or a mix of the two?
With my overhead, it's using their strengths to their advantages. So, in all honesty, when I got my pro card, which was like 2018, I wasn't an elite. If anything, overhead was kind of like more my downfall. I was probably 280, 290 pounds, so I was all running and medleys. I just got done playing football and stuff, so I loved farmers. I'm great at yoke, stones, that type of stuff. So the reason I pushed overhead so hard in my own training is that I was almost, bullied my whole life for how weak I was. So it was one of those almost like I needed to pat myself on my own back. So, one of the things I want is just to take essentially all the records, especially to bring them back to America, which I don't think has ever happened. I was close to getting the 500 log, so I really want that this year. And it's not so much even the world record. I've always had that number 500 in my head, so I really want that. But really, with my athletes, it's using what they have. So if they're Olympic background, obviously you push more of the jerk. Nadia, for instance, I do obviously the bend back, or people call it the lean back, people call it the bent press, whatever you want to call it. But the big reason I do that is her posterior chain is so strong that if you get someone to really brace onto their glutes and lean back into it, you turn it into an incline press. Anybody can incline press more than they can shoulder or military press. So that's really all I'm trying to do. So I teach, and I learned it just from watching Zadrunas. Zadrunas is big on, you can watch him do sets of 8. He never puts his head down. His chin is up the whole time. So that's one of the things I do, and I try to eventually evolve everybody to that. But I have a lot of, like, the lightweights are very good Olympic lifters. So I push that a lot. But really the mechanics don't change no matter what you're doing. I push a lot of triceps, a lot of explosiveness, and it's all core and glutes, no matter really what your technical side is. So that's really what and that's my aspect, is like when I was lightweight or lighter weight, I can't say I was light ever, but I definitely wanted more of the explosive side. And then you just get your brute strength to catch up to your explosive side, and it kind of meets in the middle.
Yeah, we were kind of chatting on IG, and I was shocked to hear that you felt overhead was a detriment in the past. I couldn't believe it, but it's incredibly inspirational to people to say, "Hey, I can take something that maybe isn't my best and work hard at it." And hey, maybe you have the right genetics, maybe you have the right work ethic, maybe you become the best in the world at it.
Yeah, no, mine dates back all the way in high school. I played high school football, college football as a 3-sport athlete in high school. So I never really had time to hit the gym. So I didn't get the passion for and love for the gym necessarily until basically almost after I was done with football, because it was just practice all the time. So then I got the love of football or the love of lifting, which I wish I had earlier, because then obviously you need that. But yeah, even when I got to college, I think I benched 225 like once. So,
Mm.
and then all of a sudden I get introduced to the gym, and then the next spring I do it like 16 times, which still isn't that elite, because I was an offensive lineman. So by the time I obviously got into strongman, and I only tricep bench, I don't really regular bench, but now I'm probably a low 600-pound bencher, but
Wow.
I've hit 225 over 50 times. But it's kind of funny looking back that if I just did that back then, but it's definitely a bit of a chip on my shoulder type of lifting that I was essentially kind of bullied for it. So now it's like, I really want to see how far I can take this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was gonna take a big risk and go out on a limb and say you were a lineman.
Yeah. Play tackle. So, and I loved it. It was just, I was definitely, even then, I was more of the quickness type of player and never the brute strength guy. I just liked playing hard nosed football. But, you look back and wish you obviously found the gym. That's one of the reasons I opened the gym, is because I didn't have the dynamic gym in high school that I could have gone to help me go D1 and pro and everything like that. So my big start of my program here was, high school athletics and giving 13, 14, 15-year-olds somewhere to go. And then, a perfect example is my three best pretty much athletes had never played sports before. I don't know how much you got into Nadia's story, but she didn't play sports. She was in band, she was an
Yep.
opera. So, I took that, which I still think is an advantage because how much that her lungs or her capacity for her lungs are brilliant. So in all honesty, I think it's almost an advantage for her that she could breathe underneath the log and she has such strong, actual muscles that I think it's an actual advantage. But that's kind of fun for me. It's almost another puzzle that you kind of figure out. Doesn't matter how people come in, you can find their strengths. You have to take time to do it. So that turned into my love of what I'm doing here. So
That's really interesting. I never thought about the breathing aspect, but that's very insightful. Yeah, we had Spencer Remick on very recently, and he was a lineman as well. So every open strongman I talked to who played football was a lineman. So it's interesting.
yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, it's an advantage because we definitely have work ethic past everybody, but at the same time, it's a disadvantage because our bodies went through all sorts of stuff
Right.
early on. Where a lot of guys, if they got into this late and never played sports, their knees and hips are probably a lot healthier than ours. And like I said, I got my pro card in 2018. I've yet to do a pro show just because I went kind of injury to injury, and I always have that reputation of like, well, if you can stay in, injury free, but it's really not that. It's just we push so hard that I've never really been coached, and that's probably always been my downfall is that I always coach kind of myself. Where I'm kind of reaching out and getting coaching to kind of reel me back. Martins has always tried reeling me back since I've known him because it's my whole slogan is never be outworked, and he's like, man, it's probably time to change that. I don't think anybody's going to outwork you, but it's time to never be outsmarted. So that's been big on mine. But yeah, the lineman aspect is great, but it's also just as much of a downfall as far as what your body's gone through.
Yeah. How long have you and Martins been working out together?
Oh man, I think Ode pulled me out of the crowd at a LA Fit Expo, I think in 2016.
Okay.
And basically got pulled on stage to do Moss wrestling, and Martins was the guy I had to go against, and it was just a friendly little thing. But basically, Martins had been rolling through everybody the whole day, and then finally I went against him, and we stalemated each other and spun each other out, and then all of a sudden, Martins goes into dragon mode because he doesn't like being embarrassed in front of people. So then he had to, had to pull and go all crazy. But after that, basically, they invited me over to start training with him, and I trained with Ode at his house for pretty much since then. And then we opened the training all together as a group, and then kind of all of us have now opened our own gyms. Martins opened Wreck-It, I opened this one, and then the training hall's still up and running now.
Yeah, he's incredibly impressive. I don't need to say it; the world knows it. But for being out for that amount of time, the accident, and then he comes back and does what he did at Rogue, it's incredible. Like, not a lot of people can be out for that long and come back and dominate.
No, I've played against a lot of athletes in a lot of sports. I mean, I've done kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, I played baseball, basketball, football, you name it. And he was 100% the best competitor I've ever gone against. And not even the physical aspect. I've gone against better athletes, as far as jump higher, run faster. But the mental side that he has is almost genius level, to where he can he just puts everything into what he's doing. And if anybody thought he was good before, it's like, the version that he's going to be now is almost scary, especially injury free. So, everybody pushes the battle that it's going to be. It really is a very elite, category that's going into Worlds this year, and any one of them can win. That's the fun part. But where he's going it's going to be pretty hard to beat him.
What do you think about the three new guys who qualified for Giants Live? Any opinion on any of them?
I've known, Spencer won his pro card, I believe, at one of Ode's shows in Chicago, if I remember right. But I've known those guys for a while. Pablo was new. I know he was the one who beat Novikov at Ukraine, right? In Ukrainian Strongest Man. If
I think
right.
he did 1 year, and I think he came in second to him another year, and he came in second this year at Middle East Strongest Man.
Yeah, so all those guys, they're just so fast, and they all have the high level coachings over there and stuff like that. So it's cool seeing that. But top three, honestly, top five at OSG will be probably top five again. With hopefully me and others mixed in, because this year was missing a few high level other pros. But Marcus Crowder was leading pretty much the whole show. And he did great. He's another one. I think he won Americas a couple years ago. Spencer's great. Ty is a monster. You know, he always has been. So, and yeah, I mean, it's gonna. I think throwing them into the mix is a lot of fun just because they're so different. You know, but I've known their name for a while. But like I said, in America, a lot of us kind of get washed out because we're all high level and could be on that map with everybody. But there's really no OSG is kind of the only way to break into the mix, if you will. You know, so that's
Right.
one of the hardest parts is you really the top five. I mean, Wesley's there. Wesley Claiborne is another one that's
Mhm.
there, and there's so many of these guys that could be on Worlds or Giants Live or any of these others. But until we have a chance to really break into the mix, you know, OSG's kind of it.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
Tyler's my boy here from New Jersey, so I root for him.
yeah. No, yeah, might be best beard in the game. I don't know. He's up there.
He's best beard and Marcus is best hair.
Yes. Yeah, don't tell Ty that though. I think he might be offended by that. But yeah, you're right. So all those guys though are great, and they all have their strengths. All of them are getting better, which is really exciting because I've always wanted to compete with those guys. And even Josh Silva, the one that just won.
I was just gonna mention Josh Silvis. If he can get a road into Giants Live, he's gonna do some damage.
Yeah, I mean he's so big, so that's going to be a fun one, So I've never met any of these guys. I mean that was a lot of times meeting those guys in person. We talked on Instagram just like we did, but as far as in person stuff, I haven't. And the cool part is you see them in person. It's almost like you had a relationship, with them for years, especially
Yeah.
in strongman. That is the good part of this sport. But yeah, Josh looks like he's going to be some damage because everybody was shocked at America's because how big he is. I don't even know what he tips the scales at, but they were all expecting him to be out of shape, and he wasn't.
So he was on my show, and if I remember, I got to go watch my video. If I remember right, I think he said he was 490.
Jeez, that's awesome. That is awesome. But yeah, so big boy. I mean, I've never tipped the scales over 4, which is I've always tried to do that. I don't believe do the whole pound for pound, strength because I think strength is strength. But at the same time, I definitely did want, when I break the 500, I don't want to be well over 360, 370, that type of stuff. So I do find it more impressive, especially with my girls. Like I have 2 that are approaching the 300 mark with Nadia, but they're sub 180. I think that is more impressive.
Yeah.
But really, a female hitting 300 is still incredible. Even some of the lightweights hitting 300 is incredible. So, yeah, I mean it's fun. It's just I love strength and everything it's about. Honestly, that's why I do love strongman because there's so many avenues of records you can do, and there's speed records and there's strength records and there's all sorts of stuff. So I don't necessarily push for world records because of the clout or the social media aspect. I really do it just to it's just a chance to kind of break into that. Just like Nadia, I don't think anybody knew her name until it was all of a sudden she showed up and broke a couple world records at Clash. And that's one of the things I push is like, why don't we just get really good at something and then just broaden that and get really good at everything. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my mentality as a coach, really, right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's the drive, right? Like you see a challenge, you wanna defeat it. Like I did this thing. It was kind of tongue in cheek, but kind of for real too. Like I was doing a stone load in the woods, right? So I found a stone. It was a little bit over my body weight, and I found this concrete thing. It looked like maybe it was a housing for an old sewer pipe in the woods. So I thought, oh, this thing's solid. I can put a scale on it and get a true weight and see what this thing weighs. So I was able to load it. While I was rolling it in place, I rolled it on a beehive. I got stung 12 times, like 7 times in the face, all over. And I'm like, I'm loading this stone. I don't care. It's like.
Yeah.
I came to get it done, and I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, no, I think that's why we all fall in love with stones, though, because the second you have one, it's like a matter of the next biggest one, and then you don't even really acknowledge the fact that you've been working 6 months to get that stone. You're already like, I want that one, and it's like you just on to the next one. You're on to the next one. It's that's why I love strongman. It's those type of yoke where it's just you have 1,000 pounds on your back. Let's see if we can get under 10 seconds to go across. I mean, it's just. When you talk about it, nobody understands unless it's other strongmen, which is the best part about this sport. But it's also because people that don't compete still can relate. It's like, I really want to, like you said, load that stone. It's fun. It's a challenge that, when you don't get it, you're sad. When you do get it, you're really happy. So.
It's true. It's true. So what's the story of how you started your own gym? What came first, the pro card or your gym?
The gym actually did. So the training all started because we were all competing, basically training in Oates' gym. He had like a 4-car garage, and he had everything from past World's Strongest Man and all sorts of stuff that was in the garage. And then we'd get groups sometimes of 12, 15, 20 people, especially on weekends, and we'd do strongman Sundays and strongman Saturdays or whatever. And we just loved hanging out. So at the time, it was like, why don't we just put this into a building and see if we can't, get other people, more space, more room, spread it out. So I kind of initiated that and kind of pushed it forward to, start the training hall. And we just found, somewhere close by and put everything together. So, me and Ode and Martins and Sean and a big group, and Romark, obviously, pretty much the same nucleus of people that you see now, started that one. And it was fun, and it was basically everything I wanted, but I was going more so the football route and getting away from the strongman route, which is not necessarily what I wanted. But Ode had also opened a gym way back in the day in Hawaii. He was the first one to bring 24-hour fitness to Hawaii. So he, I kind of wanted to do things my own way, and I felt like I was always going to be under the name of Ode, just because of how big his name was, and I really wanted to break into that. So I went out on my own and kind of came closer back home, and basically I'm in the Inland Empire right now, so there's nothing like this for a lot of talent, so I really wanted to open a gym that had a place for all the talent that goes somewhere, because if not, you have a ton of gangs around, you have just the bad route, it's really hard to be discovered in this area, because basically you have LA to the west, you got Vegas north, San Diego south, so we're just kind of passed over, so my big thing is trying to get this big enough that it's almost like, college scouts and stuff like that have one place to go to and they can just see high talent level. With that, I use a lot of strongman training with my stuff. So my team Bear, which is everybody nicknamed me Bear, is basically grown now to kind of pay the bill. So it's like I push that even more. And I just love strongman. So, in America, we obviously have to push for the pro card, or at least we used to. You get your pro card, and then you can get into the, all the way up to worlds. And so that's kind of where I went. I just loved competing with the guys. I never really went in necessarily like I really want to do world's strongest man. I really want to break records. I just really loved the training. It made me miss football. I played sports my whole life. So, and then I kind of saw the camaraderie and the brotherhood and the teamwork and all that stuff. And I basically, I always joke with Martinez that I'll be the world's strongest training partner. But it came later that it was like, I really want to do this. It's a lot of fun, and it's, you just get that itch that you have to do it. So the overhead kind of turned into my obsession for sure. But this year I have big goals. I made a joke that I want to hit a world record every month until OSG. So that's kind of my, even if it's not official, that's kind of something that I just want to do just for fun. So
Yeah, that's awesome. But it's interesting that you started off with your roots kind of in a garage gym. Stan Carradine went to Worlds out of a garage gym. So great stuff. I don't know if you've heard of Garage Gym Life Media. They cover a lot of this stuff and talk about the wonderful stuff coming out of garage gyms. I've worked with them on a couple of contests before. And in fact, they're sponsoring this stream. So if you give me a minute, let's let the founder, John, talk about what they're doing over there, and we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
A home gym, especially if you're training by yourself, can be tough because sometimes you just don't have the motivation to go in your garage or your basement and get it done. And that's why we stream competitions every month on the Garage Gym Life Media YouTube channel. I'm John Greaves, the third founder of Garage Gym Life Media, and after 20 years of training in a home gym, I can tell you that there's some days when I just don't feel like training. And those are the days when I put on some sort of training video or other strength-related content to give me the extra motivation I need to get in there and get it done. There is nothing more motivating than seeing people achieving their goals at a powerlifting meet or a strongman competition. And that's why month after month, we provide that content to you right there in the comfort of your own home on our YouTube channel. Plus, we leave it up forever so you can always just throw it on in the background anytime you need that extra dose of motivation to get you going. And that's why, if you're not already a subscriber to Garage Gym Life Media, I invite you to take advantage of this opportunity to add this powerful training tool into your arsenal, because I want you to succeed right there in the best gym in town.
And once again, we thank our friends over at Garage Gym Life Media for sponsoring the stream. I'll have the link to subscribe to them down in the description below. So I was just wondering, Jacob, is overhead pressing a fraternity? Like, do you hang out with Steve Schmidt and Wyatt Dawson and Jamie Wilson? And
Steve, honestly, I've followed forever because he's one of the OGs for sure. But since he has the block record, I've actually reached out to him a couple times, and I wanted to know what the max stone to shoulder was, because he does a lot of the Highland games. And then, I going in January at the Mammoth Strength Classic, or whatever that one's called, Mammoth something. But
oh, you're going to Mammoth?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Mammoth.
I love Mammoth. Mammoth was the first show I worked on, so yeah, definitely gonna
Yeah.
try to get involved again this year. Yeah, that'll be
So I'm
awesome.
gonna do Mammoth. So I'm gonna go after Steve's world record block, and I'm gonna do the show. So.
Oh, you're gonna do the whole show too? Wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, because like I said, I haven't competed since 18. So in my book, not only do I want to just obviously get the cobwebs out and just have fun again, but it also fits my category. Like it's all super heavy, which I love. So I mean, and it's creative. 800-pound deadlift into 350-pound farmers. I mean, it's definitely a strong show. So.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And
So
the dirt floor doesn't help either. It's
dirt
quite a challenge.
Right. So I'm gonna go after the 400-pound block. Another one of those numbers that I've always wanted. So. And anybody knows a block knows it's terrifying because it's over your head. So that's why I started with the rock. Now I'm going to the block, and then I got a couple others in mind this year too.
Yeah, I've talked block with a lot of people: Justin Kielhofer, Wyatt Dawson, Steve Schmidt, Jessica Fithen, Gabby Bergholzer, like all the record holders, and they all say it's tough, even the ones who are very good at it.
Yeah, no, it's that's why I like it though. I like the stuff that just other people are like, nah, I don't want to do
that. Does Nadia have a block record now?
Yeah, she has the.
Yeah.
She has the middleweight one, and then she missed the. She went for 225, which is over Jessica's for the open one, but just the flooring at Clash wasn't exactly most ideal for that. So
yeah, so she took Gabby's record, right?
She took Gabby's, yeah. She
Yeah,
took the middleweight one, but not the open one. I think she missed the open one by like 3 pounds or 2 pounds, if I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, Gabby will be gunning for it again. I think she's quite a competitor.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that's the fun part. Is I hope everybody does that. That's why, I never talk down upon record holders and stuff. I hope I beat them, and I hope they beat me back, and I hope it goes on for years. It's like it's not fun if you just have one record that sits there forever. So that's why I do like records. I think it's fun to actually push and break it. And I think Steve's broken his own block record. Because then I believe Justin had it, and then Steve had it back, and so I hope there's other people there at Mammoth that go for it too. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, Justin's gunning for it again. So we'll see if he shows up at Mammoth. I got to go back and look at my interview with him and see if he said he was going. I think he may be. But yeah. Mammoth is going to be fun. It'd be interesting to see which other pros are going back. I believe Bobby said he's not going back this year when he was on my show, but Marcus might do it again. Who knows? It'd be cool if Travis does it again.
Yeah, I mean, Travis was on the list, but I know he just went through his, he had the issue with his foot. So
yeah, the infection, yeah.
He's rehabbing pretty hard right now. So that's a tough show to come back to in a month, but
it's soon now, yeah.
Yeah, I do hope so. At the same time, I know this year is a big year for us as far as like the unknowns in the pro circuit, So Americas will be pretty fun this year. OSG is obviously going to be a blast. Hopefully we can get that North Carolina show back. The Giants Live qualifier, that we had back in 2019 or 18 even. I think it was 19, but I just hope there's more shows over here, because all of us are dying to get, found basically.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So
tell me the story about how you and Nadia met.
Oh man, she found me basically. So we met at a Spartan race because I went through a phase for a year. I just did Spartan races. So I dropped 80 pounds. I went to basically Moss Wrestling World Championships in the 275 class. So it's something we did before that. So I dropped a ton of weight and I was doing all these Spartan races. So we were in Vegas, I believe, and she had come with some friends and, basically met me, and I asked her and I said, why are you strong? And she looked at me, just couldn't tell if it was insulted or mad or whatever it was, but she couldn't have an answer, So basically I opened the gym shortly after that, and she came and she started with boot camp classes because I was teaching like weight loss boot camp classes, and I saw her deadlift once, and and then I saw her press, and I said, have you ever seen Strongman? She's like, what? I said, have you ever wanted to try Strongman? She's like, I don't know what that is. How she does so politely. But she basically came and watched me at I think it was like a Stones of Strength, or it was one of those fun shows, So, and afterwards she was like, I want to do that. So we immediately changed her training. I think it was 4 years ago, and it was I have all the videos, which is crazy because you see what she's doing now, and everybody thinks that that's how she was back then, and it is not. She was as raw as can be. Like I said, she was a singer before this, so just having her do simple stuff was definitely humbling because she was very strong, but at the same time, it was just, I mean, I have a video of her hitting a 110 or 120 pound log in her first competition, and it was a struggle, you know. And now she has a 286 or whatever she's hitting now, you know. But very short, but at the same time, you know, she's one of those that's never missed a training session with me. She you know, her goal was to run this gym for me. You know, that's what she told me from get go. So she puts the work in for sure. But like I said, there's the women here have definitely clicked with my training for whatever reason a lot better. You know, because I have 4 pretty high level girls here that could definitely make noise in any circuit they go to. You know, including Nadia, obviously. But yeah, it was one of those things where she you know, wouldn't take no for an answer and just kind of found me, and then it just went from boot camp to strength training really quick, and then everything just kind of started to roll. And the biggest thing that helps her is that she doesn't back down from a challenge, but it's one of those things that I have to reel her back, because if I see her fail, you know, she'll stay here 2 hours trying to hit a number that's just like, that's not happening today. So, but you know, she's one of those that takes every challenge full steam ahead. So it'll be fun. Just to see what she does in general, because she's still very raw despite, you know, winning what she's won. She has so much more potential in her, you know, as far as numbers go, and you know, she'll hit 600 raw on deadlift. She'll hit 300 this year. You know, she has over a 330 pound bench press, and all we do is tricep bench. You know, like, just the numbers is ridiculous. So I only did the records, aspect with her just to kind of get her discovered, but in all reality, it's you know, she could have the dumbbell record. She, you know, there's the sky's the limit, really. But for her, she does the records for, you know, like I said, to get found. Now that she's found, she really just wants to compete and have fun. You know, she's not about drama. She doesn't like any of that. She's as much of a recluse as it gets. You know, she wants to just compete and spread the word of strongman, which is almost refreshing in today's world where everything is clout and social media and, you know, followers and everything else. Not with that one.
Yeah, it's a wonderful message for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kinda getting back to you. So you talked about the stone record a bit. You want to do the block record. How did you get world records in your mind? Like, if we were to write a book that says how to set a world record in strongman, what would be your tips? Like, what's the mindset like?
Mine's all about challenges. It's got to be something that really just like gets you deep in the heart, you know, because one of the things I picked the block for is it can't be for, like I said, the social media aspect, because people are going to see it and they're not going to know. They're just going to see you lifting a rock, and it's just like, sure, it's a world record, but it's not a big number. You know, it's only a 320 pound rock. So for me, I don't get like obsessed with like, I'm doing this for how people are going to perceive it. It's really hard. You know, it's uneven. You know, you're not pressing one side of the rocks heavier than the other. Just getting it to your chest is hard. It takes all your wind out of you. Typically, it punches you in the face. You know, I mean, so the big part of me is challenging. You know, it's taking something that either you don't think anybody in the world can do, or you just think it's something that's really cool that you know, that anybody can do. You know, it's something. I did just see that, you know, I think the record was 301 or 315, whichever it was. I just saw it and I was like, man, I love that, you know, because I used to love just picking up the natural stones. Like, I think, you know, I don't know if you remember Fortissimus. Like, I used to love that, watching that show back in the day, because they had that one where Derek Poundstone loaded the last of the 4 stones, and it was like 400 something odd pounds. Like, I wish there was more of that, because it's just natural strength. You know, it's almost like old Viking stuff, you know, which is the stuff I fell in love with. So for me, it was really like like I said, I pretty much have a list that I've always written down of both things that I think I could do, and it's also things that I would be very proud of, you know, just for the sake of being fun. And it's not so much like the 505 deadlift and all that other stuff. Not that it's any less impressive to me. It's just I've never been like, that's something I want. You know, I've always like for me, I always looked at Benny Magnuson's deadlift record as the raw over under grip that he just walked up to. Like, I've always loved that deadlift. So for me, that's more the deadlift I'm searching for, is I want that raw 1,000-pound, you know, basically you can show up to any gym wearing shorts and a t-shirt and pull 1,000 pounds. Like, that's really where I want to do, just because it's a whole different ballgame than using a deadlift suit and everything else that goes into that. So it's almost like that's a whole different type of training. So you know, that is on my list this year. Is I've always wanted a 1,000-pound raw deadlift, that type of stuff, because I just think it's really just the definition of raw strength to me. I think that's the simplest terms I can put it. It's just, I have a list of things that just shows that you're really strong, you know, and there's no one that'll argue you're really strong, because these world records show it, you know. So, and even some of the American records, you know, as Axel and log are definitely on there, and those are both very impressive numbers. And it's just something that I like having goals that you can kind of just check off the list.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody who's tried to press stones before, you say your number's low, but for somebody who's tried to do it, we know. Like,
Yeah,
you look at the photo of you and you're like, I can tell the size of that thing is way bigger than, like, I've never had to wrap my arms totally around a stone like that to lift it. So in my mind, I know how much larger that is than what a normal human can lift. So,
yeah.
if you've done it, you know.
And I think that one came from whatever year the Arnold's has the natural stone press, and it had like that rounded off one that was like 250 or something. I don't even remember it, but I just remember watching it and how much the guys struggle with that. And we're talking like the big heavy hitter guys, that. So after I saw that, I was like, I feel like I could do that pretty easy. And so it's one of those things where I tried it and I was like, actually, that was pretty easy. So, but it was also fun because, like I said, it takes like the reason I love the log is it's kind of three dynamic lifts in one. You got the clean, you got the press, and everything else. So that's one of the things I love natural stone or block or anything else, because you take it from the floor and it's just a task to get it up. Like shouldering a stone is no joke. So now let's shoulder it and press it. So it's taken very complicated things and kind of adding it together, which I really fell in love with. Just for the simple fact it's a lower number, but you can also do it like you said. You can go for a walk and be like, I'm gonna lift that log or I'm gonna lift that stone. And you can be on a camping trip and have just as much fun and get a workout in if you will.
Yeah, I gotta shoot you over some photos from my Instagram. I set up in the woods. I found like a branch with a fork in it, and so I set up my own bar, and it was doing stone over bar in the
See,
woods.
there you go. That's the stuff I fell in love with in strongman in general, because I grew up in a desert. So it's we grew up on motorcycles, building jumps and moving rocks, pulling stumps, whatever it may be. And I noticed a lot of the guys that love strongman are typically like their parents were farmers or ranchers, or they have some sort of like blue collar outdoors type of vibe that they loved. Like I think Martins grew up on a farm. That's his grip is crazy. Like there's a lot of those guys that I think that transcends everything that we do with what we love to do.
Yeah, JF grew up on a farm too, so
Yeah,
it's a common
and the
thing.
list goes on. So
Yeah, for me, I was an only child, so I got bored, and for me, it was a lot more fun. Instead of doing bench press, I would push my dad's car up and down the driveway. It was just fun
see,
for
yeah,
me.
yeah, and it's strongman. There's a name for it now.
Yep, that's true. That's true. Oh man. Well, I've had an awesome discussion with you this evening. Learned a bunch, so much interesting stuff from you. What would you like to promote? Sponsors? Anything exciting coming up in the future? Anything you'd like to promote? Feel free.
No, I'm unsponsored, unaffiliated, unknown, but I like it that way. So, but basically, I got my gym's Big Speed and Strength. We got a show December 18th. Anybody's interested in some high level amateur shows to get yourself to nationals, look me up on Instagram. If anybody wants any coaching, I basically do 3 different types of coaching, but they're in house, online. I also do obviously my press only programs, because a lot of people don't necessarily like to break away from their coaching that they have because they're loyal to them. But if they do want help with pressing, I have offered that, to where it's just I help with their overhead pressing stuff, especially because I've gone to OSG nationals this year, Arnold's. I mean, from bottom all the way up to the top, there's people that just could really benefit from just small and critiques in their pressing program. So I did start that, to where people can do that all over the world and just send me their program just to kind of get their critiques. And I by no means claim to be the best, but it's definitely something I've shown that I can help a lot of people out. So. But that's about it. I've had a great conversation as well. I really look forward to hearing it.
Absolutely. So exciting stuff. Thanks again, Jacob, for jumping on. It's been very exciting for me. And maybe after your next show, we hop on again sometime. What do you say?
Absolutely. I'll talk to you in January then.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll talk to you then. Awesome. All righty. Have a good evening.
You too, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye-bye.